Hey Clear Lake peeps, how you doing? Ross England here with your fishing report and activities and all the other goodies for Clear Lake area for Thursday, April 29th. Hope I got that right. Yeah, 29th. How's it going out there in your world? Hey, if you enjoy what we're doing and like the reports that we're sending your way, please hit the subscribe button. It helps us help you, so we'd appreciate that. Activities this coming weekend. BASS Federation. It's usually not a big event, but it's on Sunday, so there'll be people pre-fishing probably Saturday for Sunday, along with however many other club tournaments are going on at the same time, depending on which end of the lake and whatever's going on. That's the only permit that I actually pulled, though, was for the BASS Federation. I don't really know how big a tournament it is. I think it's usually in the 15 to 25 boat range, somewhere like that. So it's not going to be a big deal. There's enough people running around because it's April on Clear Lake that's all you really have to worry about. So nothing really going on this weekend. Conditions. Water temperature, pretty consistent. Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Starting out 62-ish, maybe a little bit higher, 62 and a half, somewhere in that range. I've found where I've been, water as warm as 67 and a half degrees late in the day. I'm sure there's places around the lake where it's even warmer, but I've been in since the last report, I've been in all three arms, and it's been pretty consistent. So between 62 in the morning, 67 in the afternoon. Water clarity is just a real disappointment, I got to tell you, for me. I mean, I live for 10 months of the year to get to April to be able to sight fish. And it's just not a very fun year for that. So the water clarity varies around the lake. The clearest that I saw was about 4.5 feet. I couldn't clearly see what was on the bottom at that depth, but I could tell it was bottom, and I could tell there was rocks, etc. It wasn't exactly easy to see if I could see fish there or not. And there's a lot of reasons for why the water clarity is the way it is. Number one, the water heated up pretty quick, so we've got some algae blooms going on. I understand that down in the Redbud Arm, there's some real algae blooms going on down there already. I have not been down that far, but I've been told about it. Up around the rest of the lake, there's some areas where the water's pretty good, but you've got a mix of pollen, which is, yellow stuff that kind of globs up a little bit. You've got algae blooms, and the final and major curse. And for those of you who have been interested in hearing these words, the carp have been tearing up the bays pretty strong this week. A really good example are the bays that are in between the county park and the state park. Pretty muddied up, a lot of torn grass floating all over the place. The only two good pieces of information that come out of that is, number one, if you're a carp shooter, it's probably time to start looking around. Number two, boy, there's going to be a bunch of torn up grass to create nice little mats in the tules for the frog bite. So that's really the good news. So we got water temperature, we got water clarity, lake level. Lake level is at a little bit under 0.95. We're just going to be in trouble this year. That's all there is to it. I did a real quick factoring job, and if you look at the Clear Lake Guide Service page on Facebook, I posted a graph that I did that showed how we lose 3 feet of water and how long it takes. So according to my calculations, By the end of August, we're going to be at like -2 feet Rumsey. So that's not going to be really good. It'll be real interesting. Still don't have a lot of good information on launch ramps, but I'll do my best to keep you posted on all of that. So there's your lake level. We had a forecast for rain that was supposed to give us about 1/3 of an inch last weekend, and it messed up my car. That was about it. So there's your conditions. Let's talk fishing for a little bit. This time of year, especially when the water's not clear and you can't see fish to fish for, and believe me, I understand there's a lot of people who don't like to sight fish. So, I'm just throwing this out as just broad information. When these fish are spawning heavily, it's hard to just go down the bank and catch fish. Unless you hit one right on the head that's on a nest that you don't see, you're going to make a lot of casts and come up empty a lot. And we saw that. Thursday, Friday last week, kind of gave up on the sight fishing and just started fishing, and mostly just drop shotting in areas that we kind of felt, we'd either seen beds, dark spots, whatever, or just areas out in front, where we thought, the right depth, 5 to 6 feet, just drop shotting. We had 25 to 30 fish days, Thursday and Friday. Monday things changed. We scratched and scrimped really hard to put 10 fish in the boat. Tuesday, Wednesday, kind of the same thing, 13 to 15 fish, working hard at it. The mornings, because of the storm that came through over the weekend, much colder temperatures on Sunday morning and Monday morning. The morning bite was, for us, just awful. It just didn't occur. Almost all the fish that we caught were in the afternoon after 12 o'clock. We did fish a little bit down south, stayed in the Redbud Arm, and down in that area it seemed like we needed to fish a little bit deeper. We got the boat out in about 9 to 10 feet of water, fishing in areas that we thought there were fish spawning. We actually did pretty well, and that's the Thursday and Friday that produced more fish for us. So I would say, from what I've seen, the bite down south was a little bit better than the bite up here. So that's from my perspective. Our key presentations since the last report: drop shot, underspin with a Kitech, and we caught some Senko fish as well. So those were our three main weapons that we used and got the most action off of. Probably if I'd have stuck with the underspin, we'd have caught more fish. But late in the week, the last couple of days, there's so much grass in some of these areas that we were catching fish. It just was kind of hard to fish an underspin through all that stuff. So I have heard that there is a topwater bite out there. I've actually heard it's been in a couple different arms of the lake. So I can't tell you what it is because I haven't actually done it. I know I've talked to a couple of people who've caught a few frogfish, a few buzzbait fish, a few whopper plopper fish, the basic culprits. A couple guys I've talked to have done really well with them. Others are just catching one here and there. The deep stuff like Henderson Point, Fraser, those kind of areas are producing some fish. It just depends on the day and the time, which works out best for you, which means basically which time are the fish actually biting. I haven't fished any of that stuff. I've been just literally just trying to work around areas where I think spawning's going on. Another tip I'll give you is, just because you go through an area that's got docks and you can see the bottom, don't think there aren't any fish there just because you can't see them. We caught some fish in some water that we could clearly see the bottom at the back parts of the docks. could clearly see the bottom at the front parts of the docks. Could not see a fish anywhere. Pitch a bait in there and catch a fish. So don't get freaked out. Some of these fish are super, super shallow. One bedfish that we caught, the only one I actually saw today that was actually sitting on a bed, was probably in 2.5 feet of water. And we've actually caught some fish that are even shallower than that. So, you know, the kind like kicking up mud with a trolling motor, that's shallow. So there just isn't a place that's too shallow to find fish on the lake right now. Wish I could really give you some really good tips on ways to kind of scratch out fish right now. All I can tell you is probably if you're in an area that's not all torn up by carp, it looks good, you're out in front of tules, you got 5 or 6 feet of water, and you're not getting bit, it's probably not necessarily the bait that you're throwing. It's probably just that the fish that are there are spawning, they're in the process, they're on beds, and unless you hit them in the head, they're just not going to bite. So one of the ways that you can get around that, covering water with baits like, you know, a rattle bait or an underspin. We've thrown just little 3/16 ounce with 2.8, 3.3 Kitex on them. So I've seen a number of guys this week just running the bank, throwing trash fish, you know, in like a 4-inch size, 4 and 5-inch size. You know, that's another way to do the same thing. So cover water, that's probably the best thing to do. I really haven't found any concentrations of fish. Just keep traveling. Keep changing it up. Fish some docks, fish some in front of some tules, you know, fish some rocks until however your style of fishing finally starts to get bit, and then just stick with it. So it's going to be kind of a weird couple weeks while we transition out of carp season, which we just got into, and start transitioning into kind of a little bit bigger chunk of these fish that have already spawned and now are moving into post-spawn. Topwater bite's going to get better. It's going to get better. If you're in an area that doesn't have a whole lot of weeds in it, then probably the smaller jerk baits, you'll start picking off some fish that are fry garters. So hopefully those tips help you out a little bit. Again, the afternoons have been way better than the mornings for me. So that's going to do it for this week. We'll get your report out next week. Thanks again, and again, appreciate if you hit the subscribe button. It helps us. Guys and gals, have a good one. Thank you.